Hello dear friends, I'm glad to welcome everyone watching Sotnik-TV this moment. It's October 8th, 2019. We are streaming live, it's 7:01 PM Moscow time. I hope you can hear and see me fine. My lips are red not due to a lipstick, but due to the light, my friends. I'm not wearing no makeup, not even powder. A couple of hours before the stream, I have contacted a former political prisoner, Boris Stomakhin. I asked him several questions regarding the ongoing events on the political field of Russia. Dear Boris, let me notionally congratulate you on departing from that country towards your freedom, as we may say now. Do you feel that freedom after leaving that murder, that Czechist territory? Thank you for the congratulations. Yes, I do sense that freedom, and I'm glad that I have left that country. It really feels much better here. However, you sure keep an eye on the ongoing events inside Russia and around it. In this regard, I have the following questions for you. You are familiar to that penal system of Putin? Unfortunately, I am. So asking you these questions makes sense. Why do you think the verdicts of Putin's courts turn so selective? Egor Jukov was sentenced to 3 years of probation. Egor Lesnik was sentenced to the real 3 years in prison. Martinsov was sentenced to the real 2.5 years, and Mylnikov was sentenced to probation for 2 years. What is such selectivity supposed to mean? I can say for sure, but it seems to me that such a massive campaign supporting Zhukov made them sentence him to the probation for their own good. As for the rest of those involved, they had not received such a massive support and were sentenced to the real terms. There is nothing surprising here. These people didn't do anything wrong in reality, and all that case was a fiction. So the people who haven't done anything can be sentenced for probation. That won't be a problem, as the state won't lose anything in that case. But a probation can always be turned into a real prison term, just like for Mark Galperin. You're absolutely right, that makes a hook to hang Egor Jukov and the rest. They will always consider that danger, and the state will get a control over them. That may control their actions and public rhetoric. That is very convenient for the state, getting two for the price of one. That doesn't look as cruel as the world thinks. That releases someone to house arrest or to probation. On the other hand, it still has that hook thrown there that allows them to influence the so-called opposition. Do you consider a coincidence the probation for Egor Jukov and the 1.5 years in prison for Mark Galperin, who was also on his probation? It's hard to guess. That may be some sort of an exchange. I'm unsure about that, but that seems quite plausible. One pawn goes here, the other one goes there. Yes, that may be true. The name of Galperin is quite established, but that was established a while ago. He has been acting in public field for some time now, while Zhukov only appeared this summer. So that may be true, but it's hard to say for sure. Those are some chess combos I can't be sure of. That may be some exchange. Why have they started promoting Egor Jukov so hard? Why did they so-called system oppositional mass media, such as Echo Moskvy and Novaya Gazeta, suddenly started competing, printing the press cards and handing those to Zhukov? Has he asked about that? Why would they do that? I'm not aware of him asking for that or not. Actually, he is their man. He is on the political level, these news outlets and all that so-called legal opposition act. Those act within the system, within the existing state and its institutions. They call for obeying the constitution and so on. So he's their man, standing on the same level, speculating within the same frames, preaching some stupid things, saying that a non-violent struggle is more effective than a violent one, and that only non-violent ways may lead to some result. I see that as a total impotence. Showing numerous portraits of Gandhi preaching non-violence seems totally idiocy to me. However, all those outlets and all that opposition stand on that same basis. So he's a new person for them, being smart and able to talk, despite his young age. He's quite well read, educated and intellectually prepared. Why don't they try to make him a new opposition leader? His father is an astronaut, by the way. So he's not some misfit. He is a student of a prestigious college. His dad is an astronaut, he's got his channel on YouTube. That makes some background for him, so why don't they promote him? New people need to appear and start moving up sometime. So he's one of such people. I consider that some soap bubble. Due to its light weight, it moves up. Or like some balloon, it's just lighter than air, being carried due to its light weight. I consider him totally lightweight. I don't take any non-violent speeches seriously. Based on my experience of 2 prison terms, I came to an opposite conclusion. The system doesn't understand a thing. Referring to Georgian 2003 revolution or to the one in Serbia or in the rest of the places makes no sense. Jukov does this in his blog, but those things just can't be compared. Preaching that Gandhism in Russia, comparing Putin to Shevardnadze, is stupid. That means that the people watching him don't go protesting, and he doesn't understand the country he lives in. And that makes the main feature of the entire opposition. They don't understand the country they live in. Dear Boris, I see some inner contradiction here. A non-violent resistance to fascism is promoted by Mark Galperin, who goes to prison for a year and a half. Egor Jukov preaches exactly the same thing, but gets a probation. What is that contradiction? Why is the first one in prison and the second one is not? Their words don't really matter. All those people are under control and are not trying to break free. It's not about them saying anything. Among the recent political prisoners, we can see people loyal to the current state, and even those radically demanding capturing not only Crimea, but the entire Ukraine. As well as rebuilding the USSR and so on. It's not about the words they say, but about them being under control or not. That is the main criteria as I see it. Once people want to speak out their own thoughts, not obeying the orders from above, they get to that risk group by default. Boris, I have made an impression I'd like to share with you. Mass media substitutes the correct conclusion with some wrong one. The real conclusion from what we have seen during the last days is that there is no court in Russia. There are no rules in Russia. It's impossible to discuss any rules there as everyone stands for himself. If you want to survive, you need to fight using violent ways, as they only understand force. That is the axiom conclusion. And the conclusion they substitute that with, their own one, is something they're talking about, promoting Egor Jukov. We have won that fight. The civil society has won and Jukov is free now. Please give your comment on that. You are right. That was a very local and small victory. I sure feel glad for him staying free those years. It's good to have him outside prison during the next 3 years. But that was some micro-victory compensated in other places in full. Other not-so-famous people get real prison terms for nothing. They receive their terms based on those insane laws. There is no court in that country, and I have been telling and writing about that for quite a long time now. Let me put it this way. The absence of court means not only different sentences for different people. The laws applicable for the cases of Galperin and Zhukov, as well as for my cases, have no right of existence. Once the court accepts the case of a mind crime, expressing a man's opinion in the internet, that stops being a court. That turns into some profanity, as no regular and fair court can accept such cases. The court in the US is able to treat the law and to make some changes based on his own opinion and not looking back to other branches of power. So the court here had to state that such law doesn't comply with the Code of Human Rights or the freedom of speech and so on. Once a court says nothing, that makes it rather profanity than a court. From the moment such case is accepted and the first session begins, that is not a court. Here's my last question for today, Boris. What further scenarios do you expect? How far is Putin's gang ready to go protecting the power? I believe they can go really far and see no limits for them. What is their risk now? The relations with the West have been spoiled a long time ago. Their international reputation is long gone. That was gone in 2014 after the annexation of Crimea. Yet the West can't oppose them, being a nuclear state and so on. That nuclear state takes some proactive measures, organizing spy networks, hacker attacks and all that destruction all over the Europe and beyond. The entire Europe is covered with that, and not only Europe. They have gotten to Africa and to the rest of the world. They are widely present all over the world. So the moles are digging hard. Sure, the West can do nothing against them, I guess. And the population inside the country is unarmed and ready to fight not for the rights, but for some free food. They want their pension a bit early and a bit larger. They want to be fed with the state better. Once a piece is thrown to them, they shut up happy and keep winking by their bucket in the barn. So nothing keeps the government from solving any problems the most cruel way. They have the police and the Russian Guard, as well as the military armed. Their wages are brilliant comparing to the rest of the population. They are ready to support and to protect the regime for as long as it takes. When I read Galperin and Zhukov, I get stunned. Their main idea is going out on the streets with millions of supporters to make the regime fall by itself. When they go out, they won't go back and everything should simply get better. But I think that if everything turns out as they say, the protesters will be unarmed, opposing the police controlling the air and able to shoot the mark from above. A million or two won't make no difference in such case. The people can be shot or gassed from helicopters. That will be it. There was a time they would bomb the territory of Chechnya. Why don't they bomb Moscow a little? It's our land and those are our prisoners. We can treat those as we wish. How do they treat rioting prisoners? They suppress those with armored vehicles. So you don't expect anything bright until Putin dies. All those swanky non-violent street actions with flags and balloons seem insane to me. When those chiefs call for such options, they need to be aware of being shot from the skies. The things you are saying are really sad. You appear to be cutting the wings. What do we remain with? Is waiting for Putin's death our only option? The system only understands force and armed resistance, that's it. I'm not cutting no wings from that perspective. I'm talking real things, while they are thinking wishfully. I don't know whether we should wait for Putin to die, as such things can be predicted. Personally, I see any changes possible not before he dies. According to an old Kremlin tradition, he will not give up the power alive. I guess that some road to changes can be established only afterwards. But I am not some prophet and can't say for sure. Something may happen before that. What that may be and when that may happen, nobody knows. Thank you very much for that interview. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for remaining people and not turning into the annexation of Crimea supporters. For not turning into that dumb cattle. For thinking and trying to remain people. Take care of yourselves, of your hearts and souls, of your close ones. We'll meet live on Wednesday, December 11th, 2019. Goodbye.